What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to Sport and Convos with Eddie and Mike. It's me, Mike, and I'm here with my guy.
Commander Eddie, playoff edition at your service. Left hand way up.
Way up. Who would have thought that Washington would be among the final 8 in the NFL for the 2024 season? Not us. We're here. We're going to recap the win versus Tampa. Crazy game last Sunday night, and preview Saturday night's game versus the Lions. And we'll talk about the rest of the playoff games and everybody's favorite commentator. I say that sarcastically. And yeah, that's probably it for the show. But again, welcome to Sport and Combos with Eddie and Mike. And I just want to get to it, bro. That Tampa game was crazy. It really reminded me of the energy, reminded me of the same energy for the last time we played Tampa in the playoffs. I'm sorry, but having the fans there, having it feel more normal, or normal, I guess. It was just crazy, bro. And they won, man. Like they really won. Like it was I wouldn't say surprising. It was just more like wow. Like not even disbelief, just and I can't even say I was relieved, bro. It was just like shoot, they actually won. Like I don't know what feeling to explain it because it's a feeling that I haven't felt since 2005, and even that game versus the Bucks, coincidentally in Tampa, was a bit chaotic. But you kind of expected them. I mean, not expected them, but you knew they had a better chance than what this team had versus Tampa. I feel like, and the fact that they pulled it off after so much misery, so many disappointments in the wild card round. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, certainly one of those get your heart rate all the way up type of games. It really didn't look good early. Did not look good early. You know, we go out and we get Lattimore, and it kind of seemed like he didn't do the whole reason we went to get him. Mike Evans was torching him. It just didn't look good. They were running all over us. Irvine, however you say his name, he was making plays, but it seriously was like it's almost like some kind of boxer maybe or like MMA fighter these days where maybe those first couple of rounds they're learning you they're even needing to like take a couple of licks to wake up a little bit. And I kind of felt like that happened, whether it was Wagner sort of getting trucked. I don't want to say he all the way got trucked because I think somebody on our team kind of like coming in like I don't know, it put him in a bad kind of leverage situation, and but anyway, I think it was just one of those things
No,
where
I hear what you mean.
where we
No,
had
they
to
got
wake
truck,
up.
bro.
It was one of those things where we had to wake up and we just kept making adjustments. And I thought our defense actually that very first drive played well. I'm pretty sure we got a punt if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I was enjoying myself with the adult beverages. Anyway, overall, it seemed like yeah, we gave up some big plays, and Mike Evans was kind of like just doing whatever he wanted for a bit. But then, like I said, we kept making those adjustments, and especially on some goal line, some red zone type area plays where I really thought they were going to punch one in, and we kept stopping them. And then I'll tell you, for me, the entire like the game, the momentum, the everything changer was that attempted end around where Mayfield fumbled it. I mean, obviously, us getting the ball back, and being in a good field position as well, was huge. But it just it was the way it happened. It really kind of took the wind out of Tampa's sails, pun intended, since they're Pirates and whatever. And you're right. Shout out to all those fans. There was a lot of fans. You could hear it throughout the game. Whenever Terry McLaurin made a play, I kept hearing Terry, and it wasn't the trolling, home team fan trolling the opponent type of sound, where they Terry and they're trying to get under his skin. It wasn't that. This was our fans, and that was a Sunday night game. People got to go to work. People got kids. Yet we were down there in full effect. Shout out to those guys, and I mean, obviously the players.
Shout
Um,
out to my nephews, man. They were
you
among
were
the
there.
crowd.
They were
Yeah,
there. That's what's
they,
up.
they said the flight down to Tampa felt like a Commanders plane or something because there was so many Commanders fans on there. And I feel like that nationally, that's not getting pumped up enough because people have come and taken over FedEx Field, which is like kind of expected because not only the team was trash, but you're in Washington D.C., which is a melting pot. You got literally people
Yeah.
across the world, let alone the
Very
country.
transient.
Right. So they always blew that up.
Yeah.
But we go to Tampa, we take over. We go to St. New Orleans last month, take over. Atlanta last year, we take over. Crickets. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, just super exciting game. And it's just, I said this last week where like, I mean, starter from the bottom now we hear is replaying in my head to a degree. I mean, granted, here would really be the Super Bowl, so we're not quite here or there, whatever. But new ownership, new GM, new coach, and sure, there's a lot of 1-year veteran free agent additions, but a lot of young draft picks, and we're in the playoffs. I mean, that's just insane. The script, if it exists, is like this is great. I mean, people like yourself and I, like we haven't seen anything like this in forever. And ironically, we'll talk about the Detroit game, but they pair us up with another team who knows nothing but misery and heartache and just being an absolute doormat for a extremely long period of time. Now we got to play each other. Ain't that a B? But anyway, I don't know why I said B. I can say bitch. But yeah, dude, this is it was an amazing win. I thought Jaden showed that poise and that it quality with the rushing, made some really good throws to Terry. I thought they had one where we caught it and they, lineman up field or something like that, I think. But man, the thing that was the best was those were some short, quick, those were I'm not going to Chris Collinsworth, Pat Mahomes, but those were some short, quick Patrick Mahomes like throws. They really were. It was only maybe two or three of them, but he hiked it, read like he knew it was going. It was like a hot route almost. Boom, quick throw, and it was right there. Terry made the play. The two I specifically remember, the one Terry made the play, got some yards downfield, catch and run. The other one, same thing, except it got called back because of it was an RPO and the lineman went too far down the field. But overall, I was loving what I was seeing effort wise. Um, we gotta figure out something though with B Rob and with Eckler. I thought what was working when the run wasn't working was there's I think two different plays where we threw it to somebody. One of them was Eckler behind the line of scrimmage, and they were able to turn it into a positive. But because the ball was thrown backwards, that's a run. That's like a toss or a handoff, so it counted as a run. So if we're going to continue going forward, struggling with the run, I think we need to do stuff like that, but I don't want to get into the Detroit stuff yet. Still, we need to revel in this. You know what I mean? We're not done, but man, I mean, prime time. A young kid, rookie QB on a team full of a bunch of guys who, I mean, by now, yeah, there should be some gelling and chemistry of that should have been going on, but you still, everybody is somewhat new to each other, playing together, coaching staff alike. I mean, how great is this, man? Commanders fans, you deserved that win. And I really think we can ride the momentum. But again, I want to stay in Tampa. Um, what a game, man. So many big plays by so many different people. Mike, yeah.
Did you did you
Cheers.
mention did you mention Diami Brown?
I did not. I did not.
Okay.
I
Uh
figured maybe use him as a segue, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm still, dude. This is great because
no cut. No, go
yeah.
ahead.
Good, good, man.
No, I was saying I wanted to mention him as you were talking about players stepping up, and
Absolutely.
bro, if you can get that out of him consistently, there's no need to go for a wide receiver too. Like he could just be that wide receiver too, but I just don't see that. But if he can, like I said, man, like in the playoffs, anything goes, and he could be an unsung hero for the playoffs, and we'll never hear from him again. But if he could do this for 3 more games, we'll take it.
You know what
um,
I keep thinking, Mike, is
mhm.
you're a big Cincinnati guy, and granted, this doesn't completely work because they went to the Super Bowl and lost. But you said it time and time again. Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl with one of the worst O lines in the league that year, and I get one unit versus an entire, like, you're talking O line. I'm talking majority of our defense outside of a couple of guys. I think we could do something similar. I really do. It's just like what you were saying. Like anything can happen in the playoffs, and it's so true. If you look, I think in most sports, a lot of times it's the wild card or the team that just gets hot. I'm sure there are instances of the one seed, the higher seed, the Patriots, Alabama, Kansas City, etc. Yeah, there are plenty of times where Golden State, another one where the dominant team dominates, but there's equally, if not, I think almost more times where that team gets hot, like like the Nationals did back in the day, sort of like what the Caps did back in the day. Not back in the day, but back-ish in the day. So it just overall great win. I really didn't see too much I didn't like at a Cliff. That option play, I kind of wasn't feeling that one. Tampa did do a good job sniffing it out. But man, those adjustments were just so key. Shout out to Allen and Newton. I thought they played pretty well. Got pressure, got in there. Deron Payne's thumb, bro. Oh my God. I'm sure they popped that bad boy back in, and he's gonna be wrapped up and have a thumb, but I mean have a like a
Yeah,
club.
that was kind of brutal.
Yeah. Of all people, not that you want it to happen to anybody, but the guy who's been there when when we weren't not only not playing well, but when we just didn't have it together.
No, it's um yeah, luckily he's I don't think I saw him in the injury report or anything. Like he's expected to play, so is Wagner. And speaking of Wagner, man, like that him recovering that fumble. Um so let's talk about like let's go through the actual game real quick.
Let's do it.
Started in the first quarter, of course. Tampa got the ball first, they kick a field goal. I think Washington gets the ball, they turn over on downs. Like close to the goal line. Tampa gets the ball. I think they punt. Washington gets the ball, score a touchdown. Miami Brown wide open in the back of the end zone. Um, for the people that say Jay and Daniels don't can't read or only throws to the first read, I'm pretty sure Miami Brown wasn't the first read on that play. He probably was like the fourth read on that play, and Daniels found him wide open. And it's not like he can't do it. It's just sometimes he doesn't have to do it because the first read is open. But I digress. Um, I forgot what happened. Oh, I remember what happened. A couple of drives later, Tampa drives up the field to end the second half or towards the end of the second half. They get I feel like two blessings in the Lattimore versus Evans matchup. The first being a pass interference that I just feel like wasn't it didn't need to be called. Both players were wrestling. If you called what you called on Lattimore, you had to call Evans pushing them in the back beforehand. Like I'm just saying, if you're not going to let both play, then call it down the middle. And then on the touchdown after that, Baker just made a great throw to Evans on that play, man. Quan
Yeah.
Martin was getting in position and was kind of there. It just was fired through, and Evans made a great move on Lattimore on the inside on the slant, and he beat him. And like that was pretty much it for Evans after that, though. Tampa. I mean the game was 10-3, I think, heading into the second half, and Washington gets the ball back, and I don't think they scored on that drive, but
No,
they just
it was
started.
10 coming out of the half, I'm almost positive.
It was 10-10. Oh, we got a field goal. Oh yeah, he kicked the 52-yard field goal. No, I thought we were down. No, I'm sorry, it was 10-7 heading into the halftime, right? Or was it 10-13?
Give me a second.
Yeah, it
So,
was.
yeah, you're right. It was 10-7, and then we kicked the field goal to make it 13-14. They scored and we kicked the field goal, so it was 13-14 in the third. And then
Right. And
they kicked
then
the goal to make it 20. Or no, excuse me.
no,
We had the
no,
3.
you
What?
forgot a part, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We were
My bad.
driving, and this
Terrible.
is, and I wanted to go back to the beginning of the game to get to this point to let y'all know that it was going back and forth up until this point.
It was.
Washington has the ball in the fourth quarter. They're driving. Um, it's 4th and 1 in the goal on toward, or was it 4th and goal? I think it was 4th and goal. They ran a play, and we all saw it. We all saw that Zach Ertz was held in that end zone. It should have been at least defensive holding, let alone possibly pass interference. Washington should have had that ball 1st and goal on whatever yard line, but the refs did not blow the whistle. A lot of people said they didn't blow it because they called the penalty for Washington a couple of plays earlier, and they didn't want to give them back-to-back penalties or whatever. That's BS.
That sounds like
Like
the
that's straight up BS. You call it down the middle, or you call it, or you don't call it at all. And I'm pretty sure if Lattimore did that to Evans, it would have been 3 flags on that down end zone. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Even the analyst was like, that should have been called. So, bro, when they hiked that ball, Tampa hiked the ball on the next play, and they dropped it, like you said, on that end around or that fake end around or whatever it was supposed to be. And Wagner got that fumble back, bro.
That was it.
Ball don't lie.
Yeah, yeah.
Ball
I think I
don't
said that too, man.
lie.
Pretty sure I
Because
said
they
that live.
know that was an injustice on on the play before, and the ball does not lie. Washington gets the ball back, and then again on 4th down, they had to go for it again on 4th down, but they got it this time. Terry McLaurin in the back of the end zone, and the game is tied 17-17 at that point. And I'm like, it's only 9 minutes left in the game at this point. I'm like, shoot, let them score. It don't matter if they score a touchdown or a field goal. The fact of the matter is that they were going to give the ball back to Jayden Daniels with less than 5 minutes on the clock, and that's exactly what happened. They kicked the field goal. It's a tie game. 4 minutes 41 seconds on the clock. Y'all saw it. Jayden Daniels led them down the field, and then we had the funniest side story of the week. Not necessarily funny as in haha, but funny as in the moment. Zane Gonzalez, before kicking the field goal,
Poor guy, dude. He's
was
probably getting beat.
going he was going ham on the sideline with what people like to call the tism. Um, he he was messing with his hair, he was fixing the sock, he was like just doing the most. But it's okay though, because he's used to it, because we learned after the game that he has OCD. And if that moment didn't describe the entire Commander season so far, you're struggling with so much. You're trying to overcome things that doesn't matter in the moment, but you're trying to get through it. And you finally kick it in the most dramatic way possible. The divisional doink was born. And Washington is on to Detroit, man. And it was a team effort from Wagner recovering the fumble to Lattimore stopping um, McMillan on a 3rd and 1 that led to a 4th and 1. No, I'm sorry. Lattimore stopped McMillan on a 2nd and that led to a 3rd and 1. and Tampa tried to go for it or tried to run the ball, and that's when they had a mishap on the toss or something like that. No, I saw an NFL turning point. Do you know what happened on that play? I'm sorry to be all over the place, but
No, what happened?
so on that play, so I told you I what happened to play before. McMillan caught the ball. Lattimore tackled him 1 yard short of the first down, and that was second down. So on 3rd and 1, Tampa was actually trying to draw Washington off sides, and the center snapped the ball to Baker Mayfield, and
Oh
he was
yeah,
not ready
absolutely.
for that.
He
And
he
Baker,
snapped.
like,
Everybody else, like they all just sat there, and us too for
even
just
the
a second.
coaches was like, he snapped the ball. Like they were surprised, and one coach was just yelling, "He snapped the ball! He snapped the ball!" And
That was a wild
then you
play.
saw people on the Buck sideline like, "Yeah, we saw Baker didn't know what to do. He just handed it to Buck." And I mean, that was fortunate for Washington, but it's funny because Wagner was saying throughout the video that you just treat a playoff game like a normal game, and whoever stays locked in the longest is going to come out. And I'll be damned if that's not exactly what happened, because those two Tampa mistakes were costly, and Washington didn't make many. And if they did, they definitely weren't in big moments. So shout out to the Commanders for real, man, for coming through with that dub.
Well, Mike, it's what I was saying all along. Granted, we didn't play anybody, air bunnies, quotations, whatever. But we had games like the Atlanta game. You could argue with the Chicago, the Hail Noah game, but like at the same time, there was some definitely pins and needles involved before the Hail Mary part actually happened, just to get to where they were. And same with the Philly game as well. We now have some experience in these tight games, and I really feel like that's going to pay dividends. It's similar uh, train of thought as far as I'm concerned with the whole thing of going after the Alabama players, Ohio State players, going after guys from these colleges that are typically competing in playoffs, that hold players to a higher standard, a certain like pedigree, a certain just higher level of player. But anyway, I say that like you said, we stayed poised, we stayed calm, just like our quarterback, and it's paying off. Talent, culture, people. Talent, culture, people. You saw Magic Johnson and Josh Harris saying it. Just what a great win. But I think we can mosey on over to the Detroit game if you want to, or did we want to
Yeah,
talk about the rest of
and
the playoffs?
nah, we everybody know today's Saturday, quote unquote. Um, we all know what happened throughout the week to the other games. Shout out to the Ravens, Texans, Bills, Eagles, and Rams for
Ram.
their respective wild
Part
card
of the final
victories.
eight.
And
Think about that.
we all joined the Lions and Chiefs in the divisional round. And congrats. Speaking of the Lions, it's going to be a war. I
Yep.
don't say that just to say like, oh, it's the NFL and any on a Sunday or whatever. Like these two teams are closer than most people think. And I'm trying to pull up the score. Yeah, the spread is still 9.5, which I find completely ridiculous. But Vegas could have that. Like if they want to trick people, they can have that. Because I just feel like Washington controls the ball too much, man, to lose it by more than 10 in a playoff game. And I feel like that's the victory approach to beating the Lions. You got to scheme these Bama's out. Like we're not the more talented team. When it comes to talented, we're severely outmatched. We're going to have to scheme these Bama's. We're going to have to do things like win the coin toss and then defer to the second half and hope that we could stop them from scoring on their first drive, or have the ball at the end of the second quarter, score points, and get the ball back at halftime to score another points. We love that move. It's happened so many times for them this year. Um, Gotta be clean, man. Gotta be clean. Gotta continue to protect the ball. Gotta be disciplined this week, man. Like
Yeah,
this is not
totally.
the game to be Superman. Like you stay in those gaps, you block the people you need to block. You catch the hand. I mean, you catch the ball with two hands or your body. Just catch the ball. Um, and you know, at the end of the day, like Wagner said, just stay locked in. The team that stays locked in the longest is going to win. We're at a severe disadvantage because we're on the road in a dome this time. And unlike Tampa, they will not be an overwhelming number of Commander fans in Detroit, but there'll be some. So, um, yeah. But I say this, and I'm gonna just throw my prediction out there,
Oh,
Eddie,
wow.
to get it all out the
Get right into it. Hold on, Michael.
way.
We get a little daddy soda going here. Go ahead. Prediction.
So I'm gonna stay with the same prediction I predicted on the classified earlier this week. I think I had the Lions 37, Washington 29, or something crazy like that. Um, but I'm gonna tell y'all this: I feel much better about our chances versus the Lions than I did versus the Bucks. I don't fear their receivers the way I feared Evans. Don't get me wrong, Amon Ra is a beast, but he's a different beast, man. Like you don't see him destroying people one on one. It's a lot of schematic ways to get them open. And I feel like going against a defensive staff like the Washington Commanders have with Joe Witt, Quinn, you got Ike Taylor, Ken Norton. Like coaching is going to matter in this game, and I like the Commanders coaches versus the Lions coaches. I feel like we can limit their schemes with our schemes. The players that we have aren't necessarily trash anymore in the secondary. When I'm like compared to Forbes, St. Juice might be bad, but he's better than Forbes, much better than Forbes. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be on the team anymore. Um, and I just feel like that's the key to the game, the defense containing the Lions' scheme. Because I feel like offensively, these Bama's cook, yo. Like these Bama's are cooked. They have not been tested defensively um, as much this season, and when they did, they usually were getting their doors blown off. Um, Buffalo dropped 48 on them. I think Minnesota dropped 20 on them the first time. Green Bay dropped 20 on them the first time. The Bears dropped 20 on them twice this season, I think. No, they scored 17 the second game. But I'm just saying, like, they have a lot of players on injured reserve on that defense, including Aiden Hutchinson. Like, they're not fully loaded. I really feel like the 15-2 season, I'm not saying it's a mirage, but yeah, they played the AFC South this season. That's 4 wins off top. And for as great as the NFC North was this season, the Vikings and Packers got absolutely embarrassed in the playoffs this season. So I don't trust them, their performances versus them. And I'm just saying, they haven't been no more tested than Washington has this season, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, we have Jaden Daniels. They don't. Like it's that simple. Like that man has been cooking this season, especially late in games. We're talking a 90% PFF rating in the fourth quarter. Over 90% QBR rating in the fourth quarter. Over 100% traditional quarterback rating in the fourth quarter. You don't want this game to be close with the ball in that man's hands. And I'm not saying kid or boy or whatever. Yeah, he's a rookie, but that is a grown man. He put this team on his back and led him to 13 wins, bro. I'm just saying, like, we have a chance. We have hope.
Oh, we most certainly do. And yeah, I 100% disagree about receivers not scaring me, scaring us, scaring them. Not to say that they feel that way. Um, first of all, I want to throw it out there too, how crazy it
That's
is.
not what I said. I said they don't scare me as much as Evans.
Evans is one guy, but I'll get into that in just a second. Let me just go back to this one thing, and then I'm going to jump right to that. So, how crazy is it that our game is the most expensive ticket in the NFL, ahead of Kansas City's matchup, ahead of
History.
Baltimore, and yeah, the most expensive this season of all the matchups left. Last year, you could get a ticket for like the same price of a Subway sub. Now we're in the playoffs with that. Yeah, I mean, just awesome. All right, so Jamison Williams, super speed, has an 80-yard touchdown this season, and I mean, he's having a great season. You pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tim Patrick has been making plays for this team. I know he's not a receiver, but Sam Laporta, Gibbs, also, I mean, not a receiver, but I mean, Gibbs and Williams are the ones that scare me the most because here's the problem. They have so many weapons. You have to guard every blade of grass, and that's just not totally possible. I think, like you said, our best move is for us to just grind it out and control the clock. But my main concern is those big explosive plays, especially from someone like Gibbs, because with Detroit has a really good O line. So another major key is Allen and Payne, if he's able to play through Payne, pun intended. Um, them and Newton, they're at Armstrong, they're going to need to raise hail. You know what I mean? You see what I did there? But the explosive plays is what scares me. I think definitely, like, we gotta. I think honestly, I don't disagree with your score just because of potential on both sides with the explosive plays, but I think we got to keep it a little closer than that. If we want to have a chance to win, we can't. We got to limit the explosive plays, and
But
then
why though? Why do we have to keep it closer? We
well,
average 29
we're gonna
points
be
a game
theoretically
too.
grinding it out. But okay, so if we go your route, which is possible, we have to attack. Is it Terrence or Toronto? What Armstead? He's a rookie, and he basically gives up a couple of penalties a game. He's the guy they should be going at. Their secondary is the worst part of their defense at the moment. But that team is like you said, there's the similarity where those guys play tough for Dan Quinn. I mean, Dan Campbell. See, Battle of the Dans. Uh, so I think if we are going to do that, it's got to be some shots downfield. Maybe get Jaden move in the pocket. But I'm gonna start throwing some stuff out there to you, Mike. So for starters, I, I think this is the toughest. If the Commanders were to be able to go to the Super Bowl, I think this is the toughest matchup left. I think once if they were to win this game, they've already played the Eagles. If the Eagles should beat the Rams, they played the Eagles twice. They're familiar with them. We got to go to Philly. We won in Philly. We've shown we can do it. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but I'm just saying it'd be easier than playing this game in Detroit. The Rams game, that'll end up being a neutral site. Uh, you know, condolences to anybody who's lost somebody or dealing with something with the LA wildfires. But as I mentioned, due to that, the game will be at a neutral site. Goff is 0-2 versus Dan Quinn coached teams and or defenses, and actually has a playoff loss against Dan Quinn. I think that was when Quinn was coaching Atlanta. Goff was in were they the St. Louis Rams? No, they were the LA Rams then too. But here's the kickers. The Lions have the 31st ranked defense against mobile quarterbacks. I'll throw you another one out there, which I couldn't believe this because the number is so low. And I can't give you an exact number because I forgot what the person on the radio said. So I went and did my own research. So it's roughly about 36, maybe 37, maybe as high as 39. If Jaden Daniels gets that many rushing yards, we're 8-1 when he gets that many rushing yards. That's a pretty good record. And in a lot of those games, I'm here to tell you, he got way more than 39. Most of them he got 88 or a buck 19 or something like that. Um, so I think you're absolutely right. We got to lean on him like we have all year. I'll tell you one thing that I think is interesting, and I just heard this because um, right before we started the show, I made a quick run to 7-Eleven, and all day, all week, 1067 has been interviewing radio personalities and journalists from Detroit. They're getting the Detroit perspective. And this writer, I don't know who he is, this journalist was saying that apparently, so David Montgomery coming back, I think that just, to me, that adds to my anxiety because he has speed. He's a little bit more of a grinder as far as running. And when you pair him with Gibbs and Detroit's O line and the fact that, they can make plays any which way, I think it's really tough to stop. I do think the one thing on our side is Jared Goff is a statue. He is an absolute statue. So if we can get home, if we can disrupt them, their timing, yeah. But as far as the Montgomery thing, like I started to mention, apparently this is up in the air how he's going to end up playing because there were multiple doctors telling him, "Hey, you should get surgery and not play the rest of this year." So we'll see. I don't mean to say like he's not tough or it's, whatever, but it sounds like your boy, like, I don't know if maybe there's like some incentives here he's trying to reach, although the regular season's over. But it sounds like he went to as many doctors as possible until he got the answer he wanted. Um, but yeah, that Lions being
But
31st.
wouldn't it be up to the team doctors though?
I'm not sure. That's a good point, Mike, but I don't know how that works. But that's what this guy was saying. You raised an excellent point, but I think maybe he signs waivers or something, but then I don't know how that works either. Uh, I think if we can limit the explosive plays, we got a chance. And even though he's not, Gibbs and Williams, excuse me, first name is the son part. Those are the two guys I'm worried about the most. But Montgomery, dude, he can make plays. So I don't know what to expect out of him. But I think if we can be disruptive early, get Jaden Daniels moving around early, and dude, I hate to say it because I love the guy, but we need way more out of B Rob. We just do. I understand the whole thing of like run him into the wall, quote unquote, a couple of times because then down the road, I mean, the next like offensive series, you run the same play, but with the wrinkle of like a play action or something like that, and you get a big explosive play theoretically. We need to get some push forward, from Biotish and the rest of the O line for B Rob to get some runs. But maybe, we can do like I said, where we just line Eckler up out wide, even B Rob or even McNichols. Get those guys, keep rotating them, keep fresh guys coming in and move them around, line them up, throw to them behind the line of scrimmage and let them, make up for it. Those would
I
be like
hope they activate. I hope they activate Rodriguez.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Give him let's like I said, let's unload the clip. Run each one of those guys, rotate them, keep fresh people in and keep running them in because I don't disagree. The whole defense there's guys at each position, a bunch that are banged up or are attempting to come back. I think that Anzalone guy did come back, but yeah, like I mean, if this team's worn thin, let's let's wear them out, keep running fresh guys at them. I don't know why that sounds bad, but it just does. Uh, yeah, man, and too, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm sure Lions are going to come out fired up, but part of why I'm saying like to keep it close, the pressure's on them. They're the team. They're the number one seed. They're at home. They got this offense putting up 40 points. I mean, they really can. They can put up a ton of points on just about anybody. But I think the longer you keep that game close, the more the pressure's on them. They're at home. They, like I said, they got this fire offense. It adds to the tension and just like what you said with Tampa making the mistakes. Yeah. Not to mention you got the whole Deami Brown versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, which those guys won't be playing against each other. But I mean,
Yeah. That's what
motivation. Maybe Deami comes out and is
it won't matter much. So you got a prediction?
Let's go. Washington 28, Detroit 21. Just go simple.
Have you ever not picked Washington?
I just why I don't want to pick the other team
Why not?
because I just don't. But I also want to throw in like a little, almost like we're betting. But I'm gonna go Washington 28, Detroit 21 with an under of like 5 total punts. There will be
Definitely.
there'll be next to no punting in this game from either team. That's the other part that is like kind of cool, like you said, with these teams being similar. Both coaches like to go for it on 4th down a lot. As long as it's like if it's 4th and 5 or fewer, I feel like both of these guys are going to pretty much go for it the whole game, unless they're like really close to their own end zone.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't even. I don't know if they're on their side of the field. You can cancel Christmas. Like they're going for it. When I say their side, I mean the opposing team side of the field. Yeah, you can cancel Christmas. Both of them going for it. But I hope we're not super reckless with it. And he said that he being Dan Quinn said that they're going to be smart and not reckless. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually practice that. So yeah, man, like it's gonna be a war. Like they're gonna have to see us. Like I said after the game, like we're coming. They're definitely gonna have to see us. And like I said, I do like our chances against them more than I did versus not Detroit, more than I did versus Tampa. Cause I just feel like Tampa, they're not necessarily a better team. I just felt like they match up better versus Washington. And I don't think the Lions matchups are that much more scarier than what they just faced in Tampa. And I think with Lattimore being even more comfortable now with it coming back off that hamstring, that we might get the best of him or more of him. And I'm trusting the defense to go out there and do what they can to contain them. Because if they could contain them, I don't think Detroit's defense can do the same with Washington. Like I
Yeah,
really feel like the defense is going to be the super key to leading us to the conference championship, bro. That's crazy.
yeah, I'll definitely go with the possibility that maybe Latimer didn't have his best game, and potentially this could have been like him being awoken of so to speak. Like, oh, okay, like time to buckle up and take it to the next level. Yeah, I could get down with that. And St. Brown is a little more his side. Mike Evans is a big dude. Um, and from like a leverage standpoint, jump ball, etc. I certainly would rather Lattimore pair with St. Brown. I don't know about like traveling with him the whole game necessarily, but it might be a better, more fitting matchup. We'll see. But hopefully he's, woken up and I man, script is set for us to go in there and get this dub, and then hopefully Philly and LA just beat the brakes off each other and they come stumbling in. It's crazy, man, but it could happen. It could happen. talent
I
culture
feel
piece.
like I feel like that's the perfect segue to the next matchup, and that is the
I
Rams
see
of
what you
Los
did.
Angeles heading to no, I wasn't. That's actually even better. I wasn't. That's not what I was thinking, but that's hilarious. Um yeah, like it's gonna be I'm gonna give the edge to Philly just because I feel like they're the more talented team and the Rams aren't the healthiest going into the game. And I just think they're the same with Washington. I just feel like the Eagles defense can scheme themselves to stop the Rams scheme, even though McVay has Puka and Cooper and um is the tight end back? What's my man name? Um
Higbee.
nah, I'm thinking of another tight end. Um I don't know. But yeah, and Stafford is Stafford, but still, like, you want to talk about statues, like that man is not as young as he used to be, obviously. And I just feel like on the road in the cold, Philly just might get after him, and it's going to be kind of a slaughter. I really don't think it's going to be a close game. I hate to say that, especially since my man Josh been predicting Commanders versus Rams in the NFC Championship.
Huh.
But and he's a Rams fan. But yeah, sorry, bro. I don't think it's going to be too good for y'all this weekend.
Well, you never know. I think Rams certainly, in my opinion, have the edge in coaching. I know there's a lot of talent on Philly, especially on the defensive.
Easily the edge in coaching.
I know Phillies revamped their defense with a lot of draft picks. They got a solid D line. Their O line is really, really good. You know, they do the tush push thing, which is like unstoppable at the goal line and all that. But I don't. I'm not picking the Rams, but I do think it'll be a closer game. I think the Rams got some underrated guy. Well, no, they're actually kind of rated because the one guy's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Um, but they got some really good players on defense. Uh, yeah, I think it could be just a little closer, especially. And I've said this before. Philly kind of beat up on the Rams in LA during the regular season. But now, same thing with us when we played Tampa. It's that get back the second time around. It's like, all right, you have a little bit better idea what to expect and how things will go, and where you can take your chances and things like that. So we'll see, we'll see. Um, but yeah, I'll take Philly. I'll go like let's say let's say 30-24. Throwing some field goals in this one. I don't know why.
I feel like the biggest obstacle in Philly right now maybe Philly themselves. Um, you got AJ Brown reading his book on the sideline, and what's the ironic part about that? Um, he actually was reading a book on the sideline versus us, and the second time we played, he was reading a book, the same book too, I think.
Inner
So
excellence.
yeah, inner excellence, train your mind for extraordinary performance in the best possible life. Written by Jim Murphy, a former professional baseball player and self-described performance coach who helps athletes build mental toughness. And if it's one team that can develop a little bit more mental toughness, and probably that player specifically, it's the Eagles. Yeah, man, because it I think they can dominate them, but if that domination is reliant on Hurst's arm, I just feel like it you never want to put the game on Hurts. And I know you had that great performance versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but that's literally like his only game where you felt like he was going to beat you with his arm.
Hmm.
So you can say it's a fluke, honestly, because it really hasn't happened since then, and I can't remember it happening before that. But But yeah, like it they're fragile. Mentally they're fragile, I feel like.
So apparently, this is something that's, as you kind of alluded to, this is more commonplace. Um, Another thing that's pretty wild, I wish I had the number. I looked all over for the video that kind of explains this because there's actually two things that I'm going to loosely attempt to explain. And not that they won't be understandable, but I won't have the actual detailed facts. But this book on Amazon or on all, different platforms where books were sold was ranked like 700 or 70 in the like hundred thousands, I think, and it shot up like 500,000 spots to number one because of the attention it got on of him doing this on the sideline. But apparently, he does this all the time. Another crazy thing is how he got the book. So the guy who actually wrote it, he went to, I can't remember which college. I want to say it was Alabama, and kind of did like a TED talk or motivational speaking, kind of talking about the book. Gave it to an athlete. That guy was drafted, and I think he played with another guy who then ended up on Philly, and that guy gave it to AJ Brown, and that's how he got it. And there are certain passages that are underlined. Apparently now this has caught attention because you got guys like Greg Jennings and others just kind of cracking on him. The optics aren't good. He's sitting on the sideline, not having his best game. And just reading the book, you got teammates like still photos of this happening. You got teammates kind of giving him a look like, what the hell are you doing? But he tweeted out, about how for him, it's mostly a mental game, 90% mental, 10% physical and all that. So I don't know, man. Maybe this will become a little bit more common, but it just isn't this ain't your dad's football anymore, I guess. Like that's, you know, used to seeing like, especially like my grandpa, used to seeing Len Dawson on the sideline having a cigar and shit. Like, yeah, this is way different. Got a guy just reading a book while men are violently running into each other. I don't know, man. The Eagles don't seem to have a problem with it, and maybe like you said, maybe this will help with all the self-destructive type of stuff that tends to go on there.
Yeah, and we had another Philly story we want to talk about, but we gotta like wrap this thing up. I'm
Yeah.
running out of time. But the only other things we're going to talk about were the other two conference final games. The Chiefs are taking on the Texans in Kansas City. Um, I I feel like the Texans have a chance. I don't think they'll actually do it, but did they play this year? The Chiefs and Texans had to play this year because they both won the division. Let me pull that up real quick. Uh, if they did, it ain't come up on the first go. Shoot. Hold up, hold up. Shout out to Football Database because they always been cooking like my entire life. Oh yeah, that's right. Duh. They played that Saturday before Christmas. Um, remember the NFL remix or whatever? When they played the Chiefs, and then on Wednesday they played the Ravens, and the Steelers played the Ravens, and they played the Chiefs on whatever. They only beat them by 7. I mean by 8, bro. And that was the last game the Chiefs starters played all the way back in December 21st. The Chiefs starters hasn't played a game since then. So they could be a bit rusty. And the Texans are kind of coming off a heater, to be honest with you. So if that defense can slow their offense down a bit, it could be scary for Kansas City. But I'm going to roll with them since they are the back to back champions. And until somebody beats them in the playoffs, I kind of can't pick against them.
I get this is going to sound weird to say about an Andy Reid coach team that still has Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but I sort of agree in terms of the chance. because if ever there was a year, this is sort of the year. In similar fashion to Washington, Kansas City has kind of relied on pedigree, moxie. They've had a lot of close games this year, or closer than you would expect for a Kansas City team. So I think if Houston, I don't want to get into like winning the coin flip and taking the ball or something like that. But if Houston can get up early and then maybe cause a turnover or something on defense, and really put Kansas City in a compromising situation and quiet the crowd, kind of like what I was hoping Washington could kind of do by grinding the clock and keeping Detroit's offense on the sideline, keeping it close. You take the crowd out of it, you put pressure on the offensive team. I think if Houston can kind of do that, where get a quick score, cause some pressure on defense, maybe even cause a turnover, it changes the dynamic of the game. There becomes this sort of antsiness, this pressure. Like I said, in some ways you can take the crowd out of it. Yeah, they got a chance, but it's just too tough to go against Houston. I'm going to go. It's an Arrowhead. I know you might think I'm crazy. I'm gonna go 35-21 Kansas City. I think there'll be some points.
No, that for a divisional playoff game, that feels
I
about right.
think it's just too hard to not bet against them, and I feel like they might be a little more well rested. And Kansas City's defense has actually been kind of carrying them a little bit this year. Their defense might make a play. They got speed guys. They they put Worthy or someone back to return and let him just outrun everybody.
Um, so yeah, we both got Kansas City. Now this game though,
Yeah, I already know.
man, my goodness, they did us good by having this game on Sunday night and having Lions Commanders on Saturday night. So it's gonna be some good football on this weekend, man. I'm telling you. Baltimore hitting up north to upstate Buffalo. I'm sorry, Western New York. I'm sorry. Buffalo, man. And we get in the battle, bro. This is for all my hero anime fans. This is Bakugo versus Todoroki, bro.
Oh
And
no.
the finals of the little high school tournament or whatever. Like this is one of them ones, man. This is one of them ones. And I'm rolling with Baltimore. My man, I feel so bad for my man Matt because I usually roll with Buffalo, but I actually work with a lot of Baltimore people. I've been following Baltimore this season. And it just seems like Lamar's on a mission. Even in the games that Baltimore have lost, it's more because of, I feel like, poor coaching than it is necessarily the team. And I just feel like this time they're on a mission. They're not going to let Buffalo beat them. They already took care of them earlier this season, and I think they're going to do it again. I saw somebody talking about it's going to be cold in Buffalo, and that might affect Lamar. Man, whatever. Like I understand that he might have an issue with the cold. Like somebody showed a video of him talking to a trainer, telling him not to take the coat off until it was time to go on the field or whatever. But like, let's get it twisted. Just because you don't like the code, don't mean you can't cook in the code. And that's why I'm rolling with Baltimore to set up a AFC Championship rematch from last year. This time it'll be in KC, even though KC won it last year in Baltimore. I feel like the opposite might can happen, but that's probably another story for next week.
Huh. Yeah, I think it's more that that wonderful Buffalo snow is going to present itself. Is why people are kind of saying this one could be different. And again, man, Baltimore kind of went in there and beat up on Buffalo a little bit. Your man Derrick Henry had that 80-some yard touchdown run. And it seems really Buffalo's strength, whether it's James Cook or Josh Allen or even Ray Davis, some of the other guys they like to rotate in there. It seems like their strength has really become running the ball. They might flip it out to Shakir or Mac Hollins or go to one of the two tight ends they got. but I don't know if the weather it would be optimal for that. But at the same time, I think Josh Allen and obviously being at home and being from there, or not being from there, but playing there for a few years now, he kind of is good in those snowy weather games. So I I'm kind of a Lamar fan. I've had him on my fantasy team for a few years, had him this year. He has absolutely been killing it. It is going to be kind of cool to see him and Josh Allen, who are both kind of in that MVP discussion. With Lamar having slightly better numbers, but then you look at Josh beating Detroit, beating Kansas City this year, kind of, it definitely adds to it. I give the nod to Lamar on the MVP for sure. This is tough, man, because I wouldn't mind seeing either one of these teams beat Kansas City. For funsies, and I think really I'm gonna be rooting for Baltimore, but I'm going Buffalo. Just why not? People say we agree too much. Let me try to be a little different here.
That's not true either. Because in a heartbeat, if you start talking some nonsense, I'm gonna call you out on it.
Please.
But
You
for the
saying
most part, most of the stuff you say is all right. So I'll just be like,
oh,
whatever.
thank goodness.
Um, nah, seriously though. So last topic of the show, I don't know what's going on. Why are you saying Brady is going to have a short commentating career?
So from what I'm hearing, and I don't completely understand this part either, but I guess his ownership stake with the Raiders has something to do with this. I don't know why, but that's just what I'm hearing. Maybe he's planning on I don't know what the term would be, acquiring more ownership. I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm hearing, and I think I don't know, maybe too, if it's sort of a two-parter, like maybe he's not that good at it. I've never totally been one of those guys to like analyze analysts, like at least when it's during the game. I mean, there might be like I remember an instance, and I wish I could remember this guy's name, and this will tell you how long ago it was. So there's a guy playing for the Washington Wizards named Jordan Crawford. Decent score. The Wizards were terrible at this point. And Jordan Crawford was like a kind of an experienced guy, but never saw a shot he didn't like. And he was having a pretty good game. This is against the Trailblazers, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a New York type guy. I think he was a former coach, and he would not stop talking about Jordan Crawford being on the bench. Jordan Crawford's still on the bench. You got to think. You got to think. Jordan Crawford's on the bench. Time to sub him in. And other than I bring all that up saying, other than if an announcer is doing something to that effect where they keep bringing up the same point, or maybe the way Chris Collinsworth is stereotyped and fits the stereotype of just constantly talking about Patrick Mahomes in the same sort of phrases where he goes, remind you of anybody? Patrick Mahomes. Like he does that bit so often, or the here's a guy bit. But other than that kind of stuff, I don't really like, oh, it's this guy or oh, it's this guy. As far as favorite announcers or anybody I might be into, I kind of miss the Madden and Pat Summerall days. I kind of miss Marv Albert doing NBA games. Let's see that again. Yes.
Old self. Um,
Hey, is what it is.
for me, I think my top three, like right now, color commentators, Greg Olson, like number one.
Yeah, he's
And
definitely
like
good.
anytime you get a tight end as a color commentator, they are usually going to cook. Shout out to Logan Paulson, who I learned so much from over the last 3 years, listening to Take Command. Like he cooks. Jonathan Vilma on Fox, he cooks too. Stink, Mark Schlereth, definitely one of my favorites. And as far as like the regular play-by-play commentators, Shout out to Noah and Iron Eagle. I think they're both on CBS. They cook. Kevin Harlan, like that's my man. He had one of my favorite calls ever when Lamar Jackson was playing the Bengals. He hit the spin move in the open field, and Harlan was like, "Oh, he broke his ankles," and I was like, and then he called him Houdini after he scored the touchdown. He was like, "He is Houdini." And Kenny Albert always been around for like my entire life. I feel like calling Redskins games because they usually get the B or C games. So I heard his voice a lot in my life, and I don't know if he passed away. I hope I'm not killing him, but shout out to Dick Stockton, man. Like that man was a beast. Love hearing him call our games for real. But yeah, that's all I got for this week, bro.
One more announcer I like, and I'm gonna go to the NBA one more time. Hubie Brown.
Oh yeah, love Hubie Brown. And I was thinking about football. We went basketball. There's so many people, and coincidentally, Kevin Harlan had some funny basketball announcements too. Like he always read the Burger King ads during the playoffs. Them joints used to be hilarious, man. But like when he did the Angry Whopper joint, that's
an Angry Whopper.
He was like, the Angry Whopper.
Can't say I've heard that one.
I'll send a link. I'm pretty sure I can find it. But yeah. And of course, like all the NBA commentators I fired to, like Mike Breen and Al Michaels, he did NBA too. I'm trying to think. You know who were my favorite NBA commentators though, and it sucks what the Monumental Sports did to him. But Steve Buckins and Phil Chenier, they did not get the run that they should have gotten as Wizards commentators. They probably should have called more games on a national level, but it is what it is. Shout out to them. Oh, I was wondering where does man go? But yeah, definitely the greatest Wizards commentators of all time. And I ain't saying that Chris Miller and Drew Gooden aren't good. They just need time to gel or whatever. Or the Wizards need to start winning more. But until then, it is what it is. I'm gonna holler at y'all Bama's next week.
Good night.
Hopefully after.
Good morning.
Commanders W.
You're welcome.
Would you say talent, culture, attitude, something like that?
Talent, culture, people, mind, body, soul, strength, honor, courage.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Abracadabra.